that you've been to some fireplaces. It's hard to carry on when you feel all alone. Now I've swung back down again. It's worse than it was before. If I hadn't seen such...
It's Thierry Henry, and Henry is magnificent! It's absolutely magnificent! And when you need a goal, you need Thierry Henry!
Something changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent!
Evening, one and all. Evening. Here we have the Legends Elite panel. DJ and Kenny Ken, the voice of facts, the people that know, the people that have been there, seen it and done it. DJ, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, all very well, Jess. Yeah, very good, thank you. Pleased with the result yesterday. Although it was, a poor Zagreb side, and I think people were expecting us to get the result yesterday, and we... duly obliged. There were some impressive individual performances. Rice again was very, very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, job done, matey. Job done.
Yeah. Kenny, how you doing, mate?
I'm all good. I'm all good. Like I said, it's nothing like a Champions League home game against a team that's, and I say it respectfully, akin to one of the teams we played that are good enough for the Championship. But a lot of people were bored by what happened. And I'll say to them that the way we're playing, there's absolutely no way we're going to play expansive, exciting, attractive football. But there is good news. There is good news and probably bad news that's going to come out of this. And I've got it right in front of me.
Go on, then. Go on.
Right. According to the good news is if Arsenal get to the last 16, they'll play, as it stands, they'll play the team that finishes that is 13th, 14th, 19th or 20th. As it stands, Brest are 13th, Dortmund are 14th, PSV are 19th, and Club Brugge are 20th. But it gets its name. Club Brugge is playing Man City. And then that's the good news. But the bad news is if Bayern Munich, Real Madrid win both their games, they could finish 13th and 14th.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one.
Yeah, and 19th and 20th could stay the same, which means if results don't go our way in terms of Bayern Munich and Real Madrid winning, it's highly likely we'll play one of them in the last 16.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they say, Kenny. You got to win this championship, to win this cup. You got to beat the best. So,
Yeah, because it looks like Liverpool will play. It's highly likely that if it stays as it is, Liverpool will have to play either one of those teams, Bayern Munich or Real Madrid. But it's highly likely that both of them win their last two games, which means that they'll move further up the table and avoid Liverpool.
It's going to be interesting. Really interesting.
It is. I mean, it was a good result.
Yeah.
Good goals. Let's be fair. We're not going to talk about this for long. I'll get yours and then DJ and then Kenny's breakdown on it. I mean, they haven't really played for a month, so they're going to be a bit slack and slow. And it wasn't great, but nice goals. Declan Rice, great goal. And we move on. But DJ, briefly, don't want to talk about this for long.
Yeah, briefly, got the early goal, and I thought it'd be a landslide in the first half. I thought, we'd go in probably 2 or 3 up, no problem at all. And then we seem to go through the motions first half after that goal. We kind of really didn't go at it gun-ho, really. There was a couple of chances missed. There was a few wobbly moments at the back as well. I think Kivior got caught a few times out of position. and any decent side would have capitalised on that. But on the whole, it was comfortable. Rice was brilliant again. I thought he was, our driving force. And everyone else just Martinelli. It was nice to see Martinelli, somewhere near what we expect from him. That was really good. And Ethan Nwaneri, when he came on,
yes,
he looked okay. I don't really want to see Sterling start anymore. He's just
shocking.
Get a job on Sky Sports or something. Raheem. I don't want to see him on starting again. So apart from that, all in all, the job's done. I personally think you've got to give credit where credit's due. When you look at the teams below us in the Champions League and where we have finished, I think it's been a good campaign. Really, I think we've done quite well. Yeah, I mean the games ain't been overly impressive, but on the whole, it's been a good campaign, and long may it continue, because it's the cup I want to win anyway, more than anything.
Cool, as I do. We've never done it. Kenny, give us your brief breakdown on it before we get into this immortal team, the 98.
Well, first and foremost, it was the performance I expected. I said 3-0 before. I think fans would have been rather deluded, and fans be rather, like I said, over-expected if they thought they were going to get a masterclass of great football. It weren't happening. The way we've been playing recently doesn't cater for that. It was a case of, and another thing as well, unfortunately, when you see opposition like this in the Champions League, it's like watching a League Cup game against a team that's in the lower division, and you know that we imitated the level we played at. So it's a case of, well, we don't need to shake a leg against these locks. They're not good enough to break us down. And I think that's what it was. That's why the fans were bored, because one, we're not playing well at the moment. We've got low confidence, and the team we played wasn't the sort of team that's going to sort of like lift us, get us up for it. So it was a 3-0, two good goals. And, Martinelli, good performance. Declan Rice, I thought, was fantastic. But it's a case of Wolves is more important now because of the fact that this is a team that is going to test us a lot more than Zagreb did. But we're virtually in the last 8, and that's what it's all about. Let's just think results go our way next week.
Absolutely, yeah. Big game this weekend. Mem's Creamer says, big up Jez, DJB and Kenny. Hope you're well. Here's some news from Wolves in Cesc Cunha is not for sale. An update on Matthias Cunha here with Wolves adamant that he's not for sale, according to Sky Sports. Fair enough. Well, that we'll wait and see what happens there. I don't think we'll get him anyway. But let's move in. Let's move into this, right? 1997, 98. Now there's going to be some debates here, right? We're going to compare 98 against the 02, but the 98 team, let's be honest, we brought in a lot of new players, with one of them being Nicholas Anelka, who I thought was great for the club personally. But if you look at that squad, and I'm just going to run it, there's too many to actually show there, so I hope you guys can see this as I go through it. Got John Lukic, David Seaman, Alex Manninger, Vince Bartram. I don't remember a lot about him, to be honest. Obviously, Adams, Bold, Keown, Upson, Scott Marshall. Don't remember seeing Winterburn. A few players that Dixon, of course, Lee Dixon, Patrick Vieira. Who can ever forget him? Emmanuel Petit, Gramondi, Remy Gard, Ray Parler. Couple of players there. Paolo Venazzi. Don't remember a lot about him.
Paolo Venezia.
Venezia, yeah.
Yeah, he came in a couple of times.
Called David Platt, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
Bruce Rioch bought him. Mark Overmars, of course, has joined. And, well, hello. Dennis Bergkamp, Ian Wright, Nicholas Manelka, and Christopher Raya.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. I mean, it's a pretty damn decent bloody squad. But we started off all right. But Man United were flying.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, Ian Wright had broken the Arsenal Cup scoring record. Club record in September '97. So that was a good sort of starting point. But I'll come to you, DJ. Right?
Yeah.
We had the team there. Man United were going, but we went on a little bit of a wibbly wobbly. As you probably guys remember, December '97, we were away at Wimbledon, and the game was abandoned because the floodlights went out. And then there was an investigation about, was this corrupt by overseas gambling?
That's right.
Cartels, whatever the term is you want to call it.
That was the 22nd of November. That was the 22nd of December, Jez. I remember it.
Yeah, I was at the
Very
game.
well.
I remember
And
that.
the lights went out and there was all sorts going on. And that was the crazy game back then, wasn't it? It was like a bit of a tough place to go, Wimbledon, really. But this team, it was... it was a funny side, really, because they had the flair and they had the attacking prowess, but they also had a very, very solid midfield, and they also had some strong characters to come in as well, like Gramond. People say about Gramondi, but I thought he was a bit underrated. Gramondi, he always done a job. He was a bit like El Neni, really, but he could tackle. You know, he wasn't afraid of getting in and getting stuck in. He was very good at sort of doing a job, getting man to man as well. And you know, with Vieira and T and all that, I mean, it was just, the midfield was immense. I mean, if that was put up for sale today, I mean, God, you know, you'd be breaking the bank. And I remember when Anelka came on the scene. I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, this kid was he was fire, you know, the pace. And he was very, very quick at kind of running into space. Very quick at sort of just getting in behind the defenders. And once he got the ball, that was it. If he was in front of goal, his finishing was very, very good. But there was a couple of games I remember, and then we went on. I think this team went on a 10-game winning streak, didn't it? It won. You know, it won 10 games on the bounce. I think from March onwards, starting with Wimbledon away 1-0, which I was at, and scrappy game. Scrappy, really. I don't know if Kenny was there, but it was a really scrappy game. I thought there was tackles flying in everywhere. It weren't brilliant. And then we went on this 10-game unbeaten run, and it was quite impressive. And then Overmars, he came in, didn't he? We got Overmars, and again, you had lightning pace. I mean, you know, you thought Henry was quick. But this guy was really rapid. He was rapid. And I remember, I think he scored his debut goal against Southampton, if I remember. He got his debut goal against Southampton, and he took that really, really well. And I thought this guy's a brilliant addition to the team. So you had all that flair, but they could really rough it up as well. They was as hard as nails. I mean, you know, there wasn't many teams that broke them down. And then there was one, you know, but again, I think they let in. They conceded 33 goals, so they weren't rock solid. You know, I do remember. I don't know about, you know, Kenny and Jez, and some of the listeners that might remember this team. They always conceded. They always had a goal to concede against them, and you know, they had 33 goals. So although they had some good defenders and we was good at the back, some of them were kind of getting a bit sort of leggy, really, in that season. And as I said, we ended up, I think we conceded about 33, 35 goals, somewhere around there. So it weren't all squeaky clean. But yeah, very impressive side, Jez. Very impressive team. Very.
I personally, I remember when Mark Overmars joined us from Ajax. I think it was it Ajax? I think it was Ajax. I might be wrong in saying that. Somebody will correct me. Kenny will know. But when we went on that, we went for that little losing streak. Yeah, I mean, I'll come to Kenny on this one, and I'll drop back on a couple of other things. I mean, we lost to Blackburn Rovers at home, 3-1, which was a bit of a kick in the face. And then we went on that impressive 18-game unbeaten run. We had to overhaul Man United. We were 12 points behind. 12 points.
Yeah.
Wow. And nobody, well, certainly when I was chatting to people in the North Bank and that, that's it, season done, dusted, gone. You know what I mean? Disappointing. We ain't gonna beat Man United. But Kenny, when we lost 3-1 at home to Blackburn, right? It was all a bit despondent. It was all a bit flat with the team that we had. It was a great team. We had a great bench. And the reason I'll pop that on the screen there, gentlemen and ladies, is to show, once again, we talked about it last week, exactly the same story. We had two players more in places, more than two players for every position.
Yeah.
So we could rotate in the Champions League, in the Cups, in the Premier League. And this is the big question, right? Kenny, this is the big question. This is where we are failing, because there is a team there. Whoever came out on the park, you go, yeah, fucking great team today, boys.
Yeah.
Go on, Kenny. Give us your view, mate.
Well, first and foremost, right, when you go back in that team and you go through that season, there were a lot of things that that we bullet points. First bullet point, obviously Ian Wright breaking Cliff Bastion's record. The UEFA Cup going out against. I think we went out against Athens. Was it Panathinaikos, one of the Greek sides?
I think it was Panathinaikos, yeah.
I'll tell you, I did find
another, and there was some sad bullet points though. The emergency list team was the beginning and the end for two players, Ian Wright and David Platt.
Yeah,
to the extent that although the good thing for Ian Wright is that he broke Keith Bastion's record. The worst thing Ian Wright was that he got injured that season, and then when he got injured, that's when I think Arsenal became a title winning side, because the accusation labelled at Ian Wright, perhaps unfair but constructive, was that when Ian Wright was in the team, we tend to get the ball down and ball forward too quickly. It became a bit of a long ball team. Whilst before Ian Wright came aside, we used our wingers a lot. Have you noticed that when he was outside, we started using wingers? Ray wasn't so much a winger, but Mark was. And I think another things that hampered Ian Wright as well. Anelka had pace, Overmars had pace, Ian Wright's legs were going. We didn't really need Wrighty.
No.
And there was one game where, I ain't going to lie, I think there were times when Ian Wright was in good positions. Mark Overmars never used to pass to him because he was always in good positions and he used to shoot on sight. And then you had Overmars, you had Anelka of his pace. So Ian Wright was becoming to me a bit marginalised even before injury. But the key, what people don't realise, is that we started the season really well. We were winning games. We were toe-to-toe with Man United. But the team that we went in a bit of a bad run. Normally in the 90s and early 2000s, we used to have a bad November and December. Do you remember the game against Liverpool at home, where Steve McManaman scored that volley out of nothing? They beat us 1-0 at Highbury. And then a few weeks later, we had the Blackburn game where Ian Wright lost his rag. When they beat us 3-1. Tony Adams was awful. And it was a case where they all got together where they said, right, this is how we're going to play. Petit and Vieira need to protect the back four. They got Vieira in line because Vieira they felt was being a bit disrespectful to Lee Dixon. He thought that all the players did train as hard for him. And then from that, it was like the players drew a line and said, right, no more. Because, it was a case of, right, we're going to go on this run. Because at the time, Man United were running with things. They were beating Sheffield Wednesday 6-1.
They were scoring for fun, Man United. Yeah.
Andy Cole kept on scoring. Teddy Sheringham was in that side. It was a case where Man United run away with it. But one thing we had in our favour, we had games in hand. We had about 3 games in hand going into March. Plus, we had to go and play Man United. And I think the fact we kept winning, the fact we had those games in hands, I think the pressure went on Man United because it's when we were at it. We were physical. We dominated the game at Old Trafford. Outrun them. We were too athletic for them. Remember, Schmeichel got injured with his hamstring when he went up. Yeah. Remember that one?
Yeah.
And it was where I look at that season and I look at it. That was the birth of the Harlem Globetrotters, the way we played in terms of
But having said that, though, Kenny, sorry to interrupt you, but during March, that's where we got the little bit of a tag 1-0 to the Arsenal, wasn't it? Because we had 4 games there. We had 4 games there where we won 1-0. I remember missing bags of chances. I think we played about 4 or 5 games throughout March, and I think we scored about 4 or 5 goals. We won 1-0.
March the 28th, we beat Sheffield Wednesday 1-0. Bergkamp. Then we beat Bolton Wanderers away 1-0. Christopher Raya. Wolverhampton Wanderers, Christopher Raya.
Yeah.
Newcastle, sorry, Mama, but we beat you 3-1. Vieira. So, but it was Kenny. Yeah, it was. You're quite right. It was PAOK Salonika, Greece.
That's right. Salonika. Sorry about it.
I remember it now. I remember. Yeah.
We lost 1-0 away.
Disaster.
We drew one. We lost 1-0 away. Drew 1-1 at home. Yeah. So that was.
Do you remember the Crystal Palace game at home when Grimondi scored a volley out of nothing?
Yeah. I liked Grimondi. I did. I liked Grimondi. I thought he was very industrious. He reminded me very much of Brian Talbot.
I thought he was underrated, personally.
I thought he was underrated. He again, I can't remember where Wenger got him from, but he weren't a very. He wasn't well known in French, around Europe, and we bought him in. I think we literally bought him in as a squad player, really.
Yeah.
But this is the difference between this team, what we're talking about now, and the present time. We bought in players in, even Christopher Ray or Christopher Ray.
Christopher Ray played.
Yeah. Again, he used to come in and chip in with a goal and score, and there was always options there. Whereas there was always options on the bench. You never kind of thought if a player was injured, oh no, look, Ramondi's playing. Or I remember Remy Gard playing a few games as well. I think we had, what was the game? I can't remember what it was, but I think we had Vieira and Petit out at the same time, and we had Remy Gard and
I think it was Palace. It's Palace at home.
We had Remy Gard and Grimondi in midfield, and they were magnificent. They were absolutely brilliant. And then there were some fans I remember saying to me, "Oh, perhaps we should start one of these alongside Petit or Vieira." And I'm thinking, you mad? Do you know what I mean? But like thinking about it now, it was incredible. It was incredible too. But I liked Overmars. We'll compare the other team in a minute. But Overmars to me was lightning. I mean, fullbacks hated marking him. Hated it.
He was a whippet, wasn't he? He was like, he's one of my favourite players of all time. I won't lie. This is quite a good thing to get, actually. Ian, Alex Manninger and the part he played in the 98 double winning side goes under the radar. I would agree.
Totally agree.
Good point, Ian.
Fantastic understudy for David Seaman, who was injured that season. I think, did Alex played at Old Trafford when we won 1-0, I believe.
He was. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Alex, yeah. And it was a case where he came out of nowhere, and I think that's the thing. There was loads of contributions. I think it was the season when we bought was Lewis Bowen-Morte.
Lewis Bowen-Morte, yeah.
Season.
It was. Go on, Kenny. Sorry.
It was just that season. It was a case where we started off really well, started really strongly, but throughout the season, it was a case of there were key results, I think, where Man United started dropping points, and that kind of let us in. I know there was a draw when they drew against Bolton, where they drew against Bolton where they at home, and I think they lost at home to Leicester that season. I think Tony Cottee got the winner at Old Trafford. So it was
it 2-1? They lost 2-1 at home to Leicester, didn't they?
Yeah. And it was one of the things where you're thinking, you know what, you didn't think about the title until we beat Wimbledon in the Ruby Range game when Christopher Ray scored, and then you thought, hang on here, we've got a run of games here that if we beat Man United at Old Trafford, I think we could go and win this. And I think but the only way we were going to have belief as a team, as fans, is we had to win there. You had to win there. If you didn't win at Old Trafford, then it wasn't, because that was the season that Roy Keane injured himself against Leeds.
Yeah.
So they lost. You know Man City lost Rodri to a knee injury. Well, they lost Roy Keane to a re-injury, and that was our opportunity to sort of go and dominate the midfield. And I think the litmus test for me wasn't exactly Old Trafford; it was actually Wimbledon. Beating Wimbledon under lights.
That was a scrappy game.
Yeah. Scrappy, horrible.
But that was another thing as well, though, Kenny. When Man United slipped up, we capitalised, and that was the mentality of these players. See, that was the mentality back then. Whereas you compare it, I mean, if we jump forward now and compare it to this team, when Liverpool slip up and that, we don't capitalise. We struggle. We struggle to get across the line, and this is where mentality comes in. And but yeah, I'll go back. I remember when we beat another turning point for me when I thought we could win it is when we in March we beat Man United, didn't we, away?
Yeah,
1-0.
Right, yeah.
And that game there, that was just, that was incredible. That guy, I remember that, and that's when I thought, right, this is it now. When we beat them, I think they started to wobble a little bit, and there was so much riding on that game in March, and I thought, right, here we go, we can do this. We still had some hard games, obviously, but but Anelka was a great player. I mean, to me, his Arsenal career was a bit short for me. I wish we
went up there after that. We're now on that unbeaten run up to Old Trafford, right? And we hadn't done well there for quite a while. And Overmars scored that goal, win 1-0.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I mean that was a massive key. I think that was a massive kick in the face to Man United.
Yeah,
they had it pretty much in the bag. They're going to get another one, and I think that's, for me, if you ask my personal opinion, that was when I started to have some thought, we can do this. We can actually to go up there and beat them 1-0. And it was all the usual scrapping and doing what you see in those games back in the day. But I just want to, there's a question actually that somebody just put in the chat. How good, Kenny, and I'll come to DJ, how good do you actually think Overmars was?
Overmars was fantastic, especially when he had his pace. Let's not forget he ended Des Walker's England career effectively when 5 years before, when England had a World Cup qualifier at Wembley when they were 2-0 up, and then Colin got back into it. Dennis Bergkamp scored a brilliant goal. Who knew, eh? Who knew in '93? And then it was when was it Van Vossen got a penalty because Overmars just went past Dan Walker, went like that. That's how quick he was. And that was the end of Overmars. And then you followed his career at Ajax, but when he first came, it was like he was so quick and so effective. However, he was brilliant. But we're going to get to we're going to answer your question when we talk about the 2002 team, because Overmars was a great player, but he lost effectiveness 2 years later for two reasons. One, he got injured, and one, he engineered a move to Barcelona, and Arsene Wenger wouldn't play him, so that enabled Freddie Ljungberg to get back in the side. But for between 97 and 99, I thought Overmars was fantastic in terms of he was direct, fast, unplayable. That's the word I use, unplayable.
His link-up play as well with Bergkamp and that, it's just like, wow. You know, but I've just highlighted your question there, John. I'm going to come back to it right at the end and ask these two esteemed people about who would beat who, the 98-02. We come back to that one. We'll come back to that. That's a great question. But as Iddy says, we had two world-class keepers, Manny and Seaman. Matt, that does help. You can't deny that. It does help. But the fact that we had that midfield, right? I mean, we've talked about it last week when we talked about the 91 team and that, but that midfield, I mean, sorry, with Vieira there and that, like, we used to take teams apart.
Yeah. And I think getting back to Overmars as well, what people don't realise, because his pace was his weapon. So he was kind of an old school winger. He'd get the ball, he'd knock it past the defender, knowing that he can run past him. And 9 out of 10 times, that's what he did. But a lot of people don't realise he was very brave as well, Overmars. You know, there was numerous times when the ball was, because they used to sort of just knock the ball into space for him to run onto. And sometimes the ball used to get knocked a bit too far in front of him. And it was always the goalkeeper or the goalkeeper or the defender was always favourite to get to it. So Overmars, he would never pull out. He'd go full steam ahead with his pace to try and get the ball. And 9 out of 10 times, he'd either just nick it or he'd sort of like, you know, clatter into the goalkeeper or defender and the ball would bounce everywhere. But I think the main thing with that midfield was the complete understanding of Vieira and Petit. I mean, they used to work together. It was like an oil. If one went forward, one would drop back. If Petit got the ball and attacked the space, Vieira was on the cover, and vice versa. They was never out of position, and they never ever let the back four become exposed. You know, there was always someone either sitting or going forward. And the good thing about those two midfielders is that they was as comfortable driving forward with the ball and getting into goal scoring positions as they were defending. There was no weakness there. You know, none of this like nowadays of, oh, he's a holding midfield player. You know, he's a CDM. He's an attacking midfield player. No, they could do it. They could do both. They could attack. They could hold. They could defend, tackle, head the ball. And their understanding together, hence that's why, you know, they were so good in the World Cup as well. That's why they were World Cup winners. Because how they played for Arsenal, exactly how they played for France.
Yes. Yeah, that's a fair point. Kenny.
Guys, do you think that the reason why we now talk about like CDMs and DMs is because everyone wants to play 4-3-3? Well, if you look at that team, that was the year 98 team played with 4-4-2. Yeah. If you look at it, it was a 4-4-2 side. So when you play 4-4-2, one, you know, there's a mutual partnership is this basically based on trust. You go forward, I stay back. Whilst in today's game, when you play free, you've got a number 8, you've got like you see, you've got a number 10, a creator, and then you've got a CDM who sees the bigger picture.
Yeah. I know, it's quite. Yeah, I mean that is it, Kenny. I mean, football's because of the way football's changed, And coaches now don't quite know how to play 4-4-2. It's alien to them.
Yeah.
I don't even think they get taught it in their badges, or they might touch on it. But it's completely alien to them. They have to play this certain way all the time. But 4-4-2, if you've got the right players, played effectively, can be a real good weapon.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, I mean, most teams now just play with one striker. You know,
if we all remember, right, and I hate to say this, guys, Herbert Chapman played a 4-4-2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you go. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You know, 4-4-2 was seen as a swear word because now people associate 4-4-2 with negative football. They see it as, you know, Sven-Goran Eriksson, long ball Sven, John Beck, long ball, and they just see it as 4-4-2. You know what I mean?
But that's what happened though, Kenny, didn't it? Because as times passed, they kept playing the 4-4-2, but what they used to do was bypass the midfield.
Yeah,
and they used to pump it long. Yeah. So you get these managers just bypass the midfield. But what we were doing, we were playing 4-4-2, but still playing through the lines and still playing through the midfield. So it can be done even in today's day and age. You can still play 4-4-2. But you've got, I don't understand how teams, you know, don't play it because you can still play through the lines. But what 4-4-2 does, it does allow your wingers to bomb on and get in these positions. You know, they're not having to cover fullbacks all the time.
I have actually highlighted some good questions here, which I will come to at the end. They are good questions, actually.
Good. You know what? Sorry to interrupt you. We haven't even mentioned that. We haven't mentioned that as much as Overmars was unplayable, Dennis Bergkamp was unplayable.
Yeah.
You think about we haven't even talked about match of the day, goal of the month in August, so it's September, and he was 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Oh, incredible, mate.
You know what I mean? We haven't talked about that, but. And the thing about it is that we talk about the Leicester performance, Barnsley away, and Barnsley home and away. His performances, his goals were just, you know what I mean?
Blind. Yeah. I was trying to sort of mix it a bit because we've talked about Bergkamp a lot in previous, but I just want to say here right now, of course, we've now right level with Man United. We're in the FA Cup final, right? Which nobody was expecting. Nobody expected this at all. And we are, well, let's be honest, it's quite an amazing feat. We've gone our first double, 70-71 season, and Arsenal do another. Beating Newcastle 2-0 in the FA Cup. How many people actually ever? I mean, I didn't. I won't lie. I didn't expect it that we were going to do another double and overtake and beat Man United by 1 point.
Yeah, 78. You got to remember, I think we ended the season with 78 points, which in today's day and age, that wouldn't even get you. You'd struggle to get in the top 4 with that.
Yeah, you're right. 78 points.
Am I right? Is it 78 points we ended up with?
What's little known is that we won the league and we actually lost our last 2 away games.
We did. Liverpool won.
And Villa. Dwight York scored that.
Liverpool and Villa.
Yeah, but Liverpool beat us 4-0. So by the time we actually, because we won the league early, Man United clawed it back because obviously they beat Leeds United.
Yeah.
Games that really thick.
I remember that, Kenny, because I remember the team he put out against Liverpool. It weren't. He
didn't put out strong teams. No.
Yeah, and I always remember saying to myself, "Oh, thank God we got that season done early because losing against Liverpool and Villa." But I think if we'd have had to have gone and got a result, those
games scared Arsenal fans that we always thought that we didn't want to go to Villa Park, who still had a very good team. And I believe it was Was it John Gregory took over from Brian Little that season?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And
that Liverpool away, it was Manninger, Dixon, Grimondi, Platt, Bowen, Upson, Parler, Hughes,
He
Wright,
dropped a lot.
Ray, Boamorte.
You played Boamorte. I remember it. I remember the team. That's what I just said. When we played Liverpool away, honestly, it was an unrecognisable team. But can I just touch on David Platt? Because he was a very intelligent player. And when I remember when Arsenal bought him, I didn't rate him. I thought he was a bit sluggish, a bit slow. Similar to how people have got mixed reviews about Havertz, you know. But when he came in, he used to take up some brilliant positions. But the only reason why I think he shined was because he was in a very good team around him, you know. But yeah, he done a really good job for us. And again, we just had strength in depth. We had players coming in that would always do a job. You know, it was quite brilliant, really.
Yeah,
leaders. We had leaders, and that's something we don't have at the moment because it wasn't the age of the micromanager. I think the only for all of Sir Alex Ferguson's desire to control, he wasn't a micromanager on the football field. He had lieutenants. Arsene Wenger was a typical manager akin to the Liverpool teams where John Barnes always tells a story that I didn't buy you to teach you how to play football. You should know that already. I bought you because of your experience. That was Liverpool's secret when they were dominating. I bought you because remember Liverpool never bought young lads. They bought players who had 4 or 5 years football league experience, and then they were able to make decisions on the field. And I think in this Arsenal side, 98, 97, 98, the Petit and Vieiras were used to being micromanaged in Europe. But here, Arsene Wenger had Tony Adams. He had Martin Keown to just, say, come on, get there. He had Lee Dixon, come on, get there. So basically, they changed tactics, and that's why there was an ability to have to transition from the beautiful play to the steal if needed. Now, you can't do that.
It wasn't. Honestly, you hit the nail on the head there. It was a real steely team because, I think we scored. How many goals did we score that season? Was it about 65, 67, 68? Wasn't it? Was it about around there? Between 65 and 68 goals.
68. Arsenal conceded
68. 38. There you go. So, how can I say? And we conceded 33, as I touched earlier. So it weren't. How can I say? It weren't a side that kind of free flowed. It had to really dig in sometimes, and that's where this side was so good. They worked to really get this team sum up. They were a team. There was no individuals. They backed one another. We had a fantastic leader on the pitch as well. We had leaders all over. Petit could have been a captain. Vieira could have been a captain. We had leaders all over the pitch, literally all over the pitch.
We ain't got that now, mate. We ain't got that. But
I don't blame the players though. I blame people like Pep, Amorim, not so much on a slot, but I definitely blame Mikel. You're not allowed to be a leader now. The current managers, like Pep, Arteta and Amorim, they don't like confrontation.
No, it's their one of the whole.
Big characters, they're at the club. They have to. If you notice that I was watching a game yesterday. No, I was at the game yesterday, but I was watching a game last week. I can't describe it, but what I saw, it was actually a Man United game, and I saw Amorim tell players when to run, when to hold, and like I said, when to release the ball. So basically, that's what they're doing. You see Mikel Arteta when he's at Arsenal, he's basically telling players what runs to make, what passes to make. Go down when you have to. Get there and support your teammate.
Yeah,
that's micromanaging.
But this '97 team, Kenny, had characters that if Arteta was in charge, they'd have told him to do one. You know, they weren't having it. You know, when they crossed that white line, the manager was non-existent. Really, they knew their job. They were told beforehand. They knew, and they didn't have to get up for any game. You know, it weren't like, oh, Man United. They knew. But the good thing with this '97 team as well is no matter who they played, they didn't treat Wimbledon any different to playing Man United.
Yeah. Every
game to them was, we ain't losing this, you know? And, you know, that was just their mentality.
That is, yeah, I mean, the thing is, we all know the stories, we've heard about them. If you've read Tony Adams' book about once I was on the park as the captain, we didn't listen to what Wenger said.
No.
Did what we did, you know. And great question here from Michael. Excluding Petit, do you think these great classic players are annoyed just as we are on how bad Arsenal has fallen off? I think some of them are. There's a few that have sold their souls, unfortunately, and I'll name them. Keown, Wright, you know, Parlour, yeah, another one. They don't give a shit. Yeah, they're just in it for that, mate. But I think
sorry,
on,
you know, Jez, sorry, I apologise to the panel for interrupting Jez as well, but I know how this works because it's like a domino effect, isn't it? For instance, you've got YouTubers and or content creators and the media. What Arsenal have done with these YouTubers and content creators and the media and ex-players, they let them into the inner sanctum. They've showed them what they want to show them. For instance, that all or nothing garbage was about promoting Arteta to be something he isn't. This great man. We're all working behind the scenes, and he got everyone to buy into it. So it's no accident that Keown gets access into the inner sanctum. So does Sol Campbell. So does Ian Wright. And then you've got the YouTubers, content creators. They're the same thing. If you give people access into the inner sanctum, then you put a video, Amazon Prime nonsense about. It wasn't about the team. It was about promoting Arteta. When people buy into it, you're going to get a lot of this crap. Yeah. And that's what they do. They haven't given them just money. They've allowed them into the bosom. So when you let people into the bosom or your circle of trust, you're not going to slag off what's going on behind the scenes. You can't.
No. But I mean, you know, players like Petit of today still says it as it is. And when Henri speaks, you know he's not quite on board with what's going on. You know,
he's a bit polite about it, isn't he?
He goes around it in a polite way, but he's not. You know, I mean, if we end up with no trophy, Keown he'll still come out with like, oh, he's on the right lines and he's doing the right thing and back the process, blah blah blah. No, but no, it was a great team. You know, it was a great team. It had plenty of fight in it. It had loads of characters all over the pitch.
To win, I mean, let's not forget, right? We've gone to that FA Cup final against not Newcastle United. No disrespect to Newcastle United, but that's probably one of the easiest FA Cup wins I've ever seen from Arsenal.
Yeah.
They just didn't even bother trying.
No.
And I was like, Newcastle United, one of our nemesis in previous history, right? If you go back and look at time, how many times Arsenal have beaten Newcastle in the FA Cup, it was a very long time ago because they beat us in 52, and we, I think, beat them in 54. But they were a shocking team. Sorry, Mama. Sorry, Newcastle.
You know what? I feel bad for you. I feel bad. You said that.
Go on, mate. Go on.
Okay. No, I was just saying. I was just about to say. I remember Alan Shearer even today said that it's one of the. It still pains him. He can't talk about that day or nothing.
They didn't even
what it is with Newcastle.
Yeah, go on, mate.
What's been the difference when they got the cup finals? You think about that. Everyone, I was only 2 in 1974, but from what you guys are going to tell me, I was told in 1974 when they played Liverpool, they didn't turn up either.
No, every final they've choked in.
And you think about the final the year after '98 against Man United, when they beat Tottenham in the semi-final. But even under Hullet, they didn't lay a glove on Man United. And then we're going to get to it now. 2023 League Cup final.
Yeah,
against Man United. We know this movie plays out. Didn't lay a glove on them, did they?
No, they were awful. They were absolutely awful against a poor Man United team, may I say. Yeah. And I fancied them Newcastle to win that. I thought Newcastle would win it.
I didn't.
Didn't you?
I did, because I think even if they get to the final, it's highly likely that they could play Liverpool.
Yes.
They'll choke again.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mum and Flossie, but Newcastle frustrate me because their players have always been there in those big finals.
Yeah.
I've had big
I've got a soft spot. I've got a soft spot for Newcastle. Any fans that are as passionate as that and follow them up and down, I mean, I'll respect for them. And you go when you go to Newcastle, they're lovely people. They really are.
They are great.
Smashing place to go and watch football. It really is.
My favourite away ground. I won't lie.
It's fantastic. You're up in the gods a bit, though, aren't you? That's the only problem.
Yeah, but it's a great night out. You know what I'm saying? It's I've always said the best thing about it is the scenery in the evening. You've been there, you know what I mean. But anyway, that's the 98 team. That is the 98. Go on, mate.
No, I was looking at that. Why is Arteta above George Graham in as Arsenal's top managers? No.
I'm going to do a show about this next week, if you boys are about next week.
Yeah,
I'm definitely back next week. But I think maybe the timings on Thursday may be a bit difficult. But you know what I mean?
I can change it, mate. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, change it. Do it earlier in the week if that's all right, Jez. We can add the strikers, the famous Arsenal strikers, on there as well.
So I'm definitely penciled in for it because that's another show I don't want to miss. Because the fact that if this is something that the three of us are going to do on a regular basis, like talk about great sides, I want to be part of that. But I just want to make sure I don't let you down.
We're going to talk about the O2 team, but I thought next week we'd talk about Bertie Mee.
Oh, wow.
Talk Bertie Mee.
Terry
Was he the kit man, Bertie? Was Bertie Mee the physio when he got the job?
He was.
He got started the physio,
Yeah, 65, actually.
Unbelievable. The physio knows more than
Don Howe had a stint as well, didn't he? Don Howe had a stint as manager, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did. And then I thought
he went to West Brom in 1972, didn't he? Don Howe.
Oh God, I don't remember. I don't know. But we do a show about Bertie Mee, Terry Neal, George, and of course Wenger. And if we get time, we'll bring in the fraud Arteta. But that's for next week. But let's talk about the O2 team, people.
Yeah.
So here we go. David Seaman. It's concreted himself in goal. Again, Man United, the usual battles. We know all about it.
Yeah.
Again, let me just quickly bring up this squad very briefly. Let's have a look at this lot. Where are they? No, I don't want Dino Zagreb. There we go. I mean, David Seaman. I'll scroll through it, guys. All right.
It's horrible getting younger, Jez. I've got to put my eyes on here. Look.
Same as that, mate. David Seaman, Stuart Taylor, Richard Wright.
Jeez.
We got him from Ipswich, didn't we? Richard Wright?
Yeah.
Graham Stack, Tony Adams still here, Martin Keown, Upson, Sol Campbell's come in.
Yeah.
We will forget about Stepanovs, but Tevladish, Kolo Toure, I thought was a great player.
I thought he was brilliant.
Giovanni van Bronckhorst.
Yeah.
I don't recall him a lot, but one, yeah, okay. Lee Dixon, Lauren, great player.
Yeah.
Lucian, Volts, Patrick Vieira.
The horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Vieira, of course, Jules Gramondi, Inamoto, I think we'll skip him.
Yeah. Parler.
Ray Parler, yeah. Gaspo, Edu, there you go, mate.
Edu, Lundberg.
Perez.
Hey, do you remember Edu's dodgy passport?
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember that? He got turned away.
I do recall something.
Sylvain Todd.
Sylvain came with a dodgy passport, so he had to go and get it sorted out. And do you remember Silvino?
Yeah. Do remember Silvino. Definitely.
Yeah.
Terrible player.
Well, of course, Jeremy Aladier.
Oh, Gordon Bennett. No, awful.
Canu. Oh,
So what you got to realise, folks, is even back then we were signing some real. I mean, you say about this current manager, the signings he's made. We had some. We made some signings back then that you made.
DJ,
go on, mate.
At the French equivalent of Lillishall and St George's at Clenfontaine, Jeremy Aladier was basically predicted. They predicted that Jeremy Aladier will be better than Henri and Anelka.
Yeah, I know. That's madness, isn't it? That's bonkers.
Yeah.
Clenfontaine. They said he's going to be the best of the lot.
Oh, honestly, we had some. Wenger had some scouting.
What about Lupoli?
Yeah.
And what about Mendes? What about German Spaniard Mendes?
Yeah. We had Jeffers that season as well, didn't we?
Yeah, Franny Jeffers. Yeah.
Although he chipped in with a few goals, Franny Jeffers.
See, he better be our fox in the box.
Yeah, and at one point he was. He got some important goals. I can't remember the game he scored in now. I can't remember, but he scored some vital goals. And I remember with the guys I used to go over there with, I used to say that if he's coached right and he has a little run in the team, he could be a good player. But it never materialised.
Wenger didn't do any coaching.
No, he didn't. He managed, and it was okay. But that 2002 team, I think they went from where they scored in every single away game.
Yeah.
Am I right? They scored in every single away game.
Yes.
And they were a great side, that 2002. They had a lot of flair, didn't they?
Do you guys think that one of the big differences that made the difference was when we nicked Sol Campbell from Spurs this season?
That was important.
That was one of the best signings we've ever made. Not just because he came from Spurs. I'll just put that in there. Not just because he came from Spurs.
I thought it was because of that.
Yeah, you did, Kenny Ken, but I just thought we needed him. We needed someone in that position because they were starting to get a bit leggy in that position, and there was goals. We were leaking goals, really stupid goals. And
remember the old song in the North Bank about Campbell? He came from Tottenham. He came to Arsenal. He came to Arsenal to win.
Yeah, you couldn't sing that now, could you?
But you know what? There's an actual background to this. And, DJ, you made a really good point that we needed Sol Campbell. Did you know? Because there was a period that after 97, 98, people could argue the 98, 99 team was better. It was more seasoned, more polished. We only let in 18 goals that season, 18 goals that season. Yeah. We lost to Leeds, basically handed the title to Man United, although Man United were always a point above us. And it was basically 79 points and 78 points to Arsenal. And then obviously last game of the season we played Aston Villa. But after that, Man United was smashed us. Remember, they won the league in they beat us at the Highbury in 99-2000 when Roy Keane got both goals. And then the season after, they beat us 6-1 at Old Trafford. It was a case like Man United were running away from us.
That was awful, that result.
When you look at this 2002 side, it's a pointer side for me, because me and my brother used to have an argument on the eve of the Man United game when we lost 6-1. And he was saying, Ken, you're not, Man United are levels above us. I said, what are you talking about? He said, Ken, Arsenal are in transition. We're in transition. We're not that team no more. We haven't got the defenders. Adams keeps getting injured.
Yeah.
Robert Perez has just come from France. This is an Arsenal team that needs work. And Henry, he said, all we've got is Thierry Henry. And he was right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, bang on it. But this 2002 team ended up with 87 points.
Yeah.
You know, which was no mean feat back then to get 87 points and scored. I think our goals. What was our goals? We scored 70 odd goals. We scored as well. So you know,
was Henry the golden boot that season?
Yeah.
Was Henry the golden boot that season?
Henry, yeah. Henry. He was brilliant. That season.
You know,
He was
what 98? What 4 years? Another double. Double. I mean,
exactly,
that just that kicks it into touch, doesn't it? The fact that these teams and you look at what we've had to put up with for the last 5 bloody years, and yet that team in 3 seasons basically, 2 doubles against an amazing Man United team and an amazing.
They did manage it for 4 years, Jess. If you think about it, from 98 to 2002, we won nothing. But we also had that belief because we always knew we were a top side, only that Man United were just in our way. But you think when we were in transition, we got to the 2001 cup final. None of us want to talk about it, but that's a cup final when we absolutely smashed Liverpool. I was at Cardiff. We were all at Cardiff. We smashed Liverpool. It was a case like it was Medic. We actually dominated that game, and somehow we lost 2-1.
Yeah. And this 2002 team had one of the greatest wingers I've ever seen in Robert Perez.
Oh,
yeah.
You know, we if you compare him to Overmars, this Perez, he weren't slow either. He had pace as well. But with Perez, he had pace with a lot of skill. A lot of people talk about Henry and Bergkamp, and rightly so. So. But Perez, he goes under the radar. I mean, he's one of the
greatest players of all time that's played for us. He's the 4th greatest player for me. He's the 4th greatest player we've ever had, behind Liam. I know all our orders going to be different. I say Henry, Bergkamp, Brady, Perez. That's my 4.
Yeah, you're not far from me, really, Kenny.
I think this season we're forgetting one person here, Sylvan Wiltord, who's at Old Trafford to do the double.
I'll never forget that goal, mate. I'll never forget that night. We was injured. We had injuries, didn't we?
You did, yeah.
Going up there, and Wiltord was never first choice, was he?
No, but he went up there and he won it. He won it at Old Trafford against that.
And he did take it well. He really took that goal well as well. And again, with that midfield as well, they had very intelligent players in it. I mean, Edu was an intelligent player. You know, he was really good on the ball. He was really intelligent. You know, always looking forward. When he got the ball, he was always looking to go forward with the ball. You never see him pass it sideways many times as well. You know, he was a really good player. And
DJ, do you honestly think that Sylvan Wiltord could have kicked on even further? I just think he never really broke into the team enough.
Well, it's like the Ian Wright with the England story, isn't it? Look at Ian Wright. He should have got more games for England. It's only because he had Shearer and Sheringham and players like that.
Yeah.
in his way.
I think there's a lot of players that era. You think about the 90s, you had players who were challenged for the Golden Boot. You had Robbie Fowler, Andy Cole, Alan Shearer, of course. You had it was Stan Collymore, and then we even mentioned Celeste Ferdinand.
Yeah,
they're all banging the season, weren't they?
Yeah,
and Sheringham.
But unfortunately, Wiltord was in that era of really great strikers around. People say like, "Oh, we need a striker." Yeah, we do, but I mean, there's not many brilliant strikers out there to choose from. I mean, we're saying Gyökeres and people like that. He's only the best at the moment, apart from Haaland and that. But back then, you had so many good strikers all over the place. And I think Wiltord, if Wiltord was playing today, he'd probably stand out as one of the strikers. It's just that he had better players in front of, like world-class players in front of him, that he never got the recognition he deserved.
You know what people seem to forget, that we bought Wiltord on the back. We bought Wiltord on the back of that equaliser in the Euro 2000 final against Italy. Remember, it was good. Remember golden goal. Italy, Italy were 1-0 up. I think Di Vecchio scored, and it was like a case of Italy and their sort of like boring defensive Catenaccio was going to see him through, and then out of nowhere, Wiltord in the last minute put the ball in the back of the net. And I think when we bought Wiltord, we thought, hang on, this is a geezer, this is a guy that played for his country and got the equaliser in the Euro 20,000. And I think the price tag as well, because was it 11 million we paid for him?
Who?
Wiltord, about 12, 13 million?
I'm not sure. Don't know.
I think we broke a transfer record for Sylvain Wiltord.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kanu, I mean, what a player he was. I mean,
Kanu, size 14 feet.
Oh, what a player. I mean,
guys, he played in midfield at Anfield that season when we won 2-1.
Yeah, he did.
Van Bronckhorst got sent off.
Yeah.
That is true. But the thing is, when you look at these two teams, right? 02 double, 98 double, 02 double, right? I mean, it just shows the phenomenal teams we had, right? I mean, we had some outrageously good players. Now, I just want to. There's some good questions people have asked here, actually, right? Good questions here. John says, I agree with Iddy. 02 would beat the 98 team. Do you agree with that, boys?
02 would beat the 98 team. Difficult one, that. I can't sit on the fence and say a draw.
Tricky.
It was different. I mean, right, Sol Campbell up against Anelka. They probably would just nick it, I would say. There wouldn't be a lot in it. Wouldn't be. But that's if you get past Petit and Vieira. Remember, Petit and Vieira on their day. Petit and Vieira on their day were.
It was Vieira and Edu, isn't it? Vieira kind of shared it amongst himself because we didn't have Gilberto Silva. So Gilberto Silva joined us.
It was Vieira and Edu, and Edu weren't as physical and mobile as Petit.
Yeah, but you know what I thought? I always say that the 2002 team is the best teams that I've ever seen. And that includes George's team in '91 and the Invincibles. I say it on the basis of the adversity they came from. You think about Anfield, the adversity of having Van Bronckhorst, being sent off. And I always thought that Van Bronckhorst, when he came to Arsenal, I looked at what he did at Rangers, and I just thought, right, the shots from 30 yards, the way he dominated midfield, and I thought, and I don't want to offend anyone, but I always thought he was a yard too slow for our game. Not Arsenal's game, but English football. I thought it was a yard too slow.
Good point.
And I think that's where I think that Edu was able to kind of take his place. But you think about it, we had 3 goalkeepers. 3 goalkeepers got medals that season.
Yeah.
Freeman, Richard Wright, who was probably not good enough for us, and Taylor, who we all thought was going to be the best of the best. We thought he was going to be one of the best goalkeepers. It never really turned out from that. But 3 goalkeepers. Sol Campbell just came for Tottenham. Lee Dixon didn't play every game.
No.
That time we got Nutty Winterburn was at West Ham. So Ashley Cole, in his first full season, left back. Robert Perez, probably the best player in Europe. That season, I thought Robert Perez was the best player in Europe.
Yeah, no, it probably edges it over the 98 for me, the 2002. I mean, I thought it was Lauren that came in, wasn't it, for Dixon at right back, wasn't it, Lauren?
Yeah,
I mean,
he was class.
He was brilliant. He was a brilliant.
We all need horsewhipping. You know, we need horsewhipping.
Go on.
The one person that everyone wanted to score to win at Old Trafford, he went on a run where he couldn't stop scoring. Freddie Lundberg. We haven't even mentioned him.
Oh.
Do you remember the red hair? The song?
That was his season. 2002 was his season. Some of the goals that guy scored was incredible. Yeah. And you watch Saka, right?
Yeah.
If you watch Saka and compare him to Lundberg, right? When Lundberg got in positions in front of goal, it was a goal. You know, he could hit the goalkeeper, drive it near post, drive it far post. And his feet was so quick. I remember watching him, and he had the ball, and he lost it, and he got it back, and he had such quick feet. It was incredible. He was a brilliant player.
You know, he didn't have the individual. He didn't have the individual ability of Overmars. Remember, he played with Overmars for a while, because when he first came to Son, remember he endeared himself by scoring his debut against Man United in the 98 when he lobbed Schmeichel, and I think he was bit in and out of the side, and then he got his run after Arsene Wenger froze Overmars out of the team because him and his mate Petit forced through moves to Barcelona, but Overmars got punished a lot because he got punished for it more, and I think he was coming in and out of the side, and in 2001, 2002, that's where he realised that he could get past the defence and get past the forward line and just get in areas. I remember there was a game at Highbury and we beat him 3-1. Remember we beat Man United 3-1 when he scored one of the goals. And I think that's when Bartes had basically he basically dropped the soap.
Yeah.
In the shower. I'm sorry about the analogy, but you remember Henri's goals, both from down to Bartes, basically dropping the soap in the shower.
Yeah.
I've got another good question here for you, gentlemen. Right, Mems Creamer, do you think having Santi Cazorla at Arsenal would have won more Premier League titles if his career hadn't ended early?
Definitely. Santi Cazorla was a magnificent player.
Yeah, fabulous player.
We didn't see the absolute cream of him. He had more to offer, and we would have won more Premier League titles. Yeah, definitely.
Totally agree, Kenny.
Santi I call him Santi Cazorla. Cazorla, and he is the best technical player I've seen in the flesh in an Arsenal shirt. Yeah. In terms of like genuine technique, and I watched Dennis Bergkamp play.
Yeah,
but when it came to like technique, unrivaled, Santi Cazorla is like my pet. He was
quick and all, wasn't he?
It was fantastic. He was like the brain of our side. It's like you speak to Jack Wilshere, Mesut Ozil, and all they talk about is Santi Cazorla, his technique. And do you remember he took corners with both feet, and he was able to get curl on. You know when you talk about Saka's delivery and getting Rice's delivery, can you imagine if we had, set piece FC, we had Santi Cazorla now?
Yeah, exactly.
I think our set pieces. I haven't watched them last night. I've gone down the toilet back. That's a story of the day.
Overmars is on. Sorry, not Overmars. Odegaard is on the. Is on them. He's not Saka. Saka gets gets it really precise with his free kick. But you know what? Freddie Lundberg has said that we pronounce Odegaard's name wrong.
As it go on, as it meant to be pronounced?
It's meant to be pronounced Martin Odegaard.
Odegaard. Oh, right, okay.
Odegaard. Yes.
Martin Odegaard. That's what I'll call him. Martin Odegaard, I'll call him.
Yeah, that's like it.
Yeah.
Creamer again. Who's better, Seaman or Jens Lehmann?
Seaman. David Seaman. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm leaving that Jez because me and Jez have had discussions. I've had discussions with a lot of Arsenal fans.
I'm sorry.
And they're not sure. And it wasn't on the basis that Seaman was won a couple of doubles, and Jens is an invincible. But there was something about Jens Lehmann that I thought, you know what? If I gave my head a wobble, of course I'm going to save David Seaman. But if I'm in a mood when my head needs a wobble, there have been times when I have gone for Lehmann.
Yeah, I mean, Lehmann was a magnificent keeper. I mean, we've had some great keepers over the years, without a doubt. I mean, we've had some fantastic keepers. But,
it's a controversial one then, right? If David Seaman had been in goal in the Champions League final, where we got cheated, I will say this to the day I die, we got cheated, right?
I don't know if we got to talk about the Champions League. Go on.
Do you think we'd have won it?
Yes.
No, I think so.
Yes.
I think so. It was a mad Jens moment.
It was a Jens moment, and Jens always had their moments in him, and that's why I always put Seaman. He was very intelligent for a goalkeeper, David Seaman. He might not come across intelligent when you hear him talk and that, you know, but I mean, he was a very intelligent goalkeeper. The one thing with Seaman, what you had as a goalkeeper is the defenders that played with him will always say, when that ball came into the box, when he called for it, they just relaxed their shoulders, had a cup of tea, got the rich tea out. They knew it was good. They knew it was safe.
Sat on the deck chair.
There was never a problem when that cross came in. If Seaman went for it, 10 out of 10 times, he would catch it, punch it. It was safe, and the defenders would just not even bother going for the header. Whereas the other goalkeepers, they always was like, oh, you know, has he got it? Has he gathered it? Yeah. Shall I head it? With Seaman, keeper, Adams, Bold, whoever was playing in front of him would just tools down. Dave's got it. You know what I mean? And that's the confidence he used to. And that's why we was very, very good at the back. That's why we was very solid. Because
going back years and years and years, he was very Bob Wilson. When Bob Wilson came
definitely, Bob Wilson coached Johnny Lucas as well. Yeah. But you know, there's one thing. You know, one thing. Someone I get with football with, old mate, old friend from years back now. Well, basically, he used to say, "Ken, did you notice that the defenders didn't mind? They used to let strikers shoot from 30 yards because they trusted David Seaman, because they always knew that he's got his angles right. Where if you notice,
apart from the halfway line, mate, that was.
Well, yeah, we know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, apart from that, but normally he used to get his angle so correct that if the ball weren't shot from distance, when in his prime,
the only weakness David Seaman had in my book, is on the occasions they were 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper. You know, he weren't quite at it on a 1-to-1 situation, whereas Lehmann was very good coming off his line.
Oh, he was brilliant on 1-to-ones.
Lehmann was brilliant on 1-to-1, whereas Seaman weren't as good as Lehmann as 1-on-ones. That's the only difference.
I mean, as Neil says, Who can forget his save against Sheffield United in the FA Cup semi-final?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
How did he get there?
Aaron and Brady's husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Pescasolia.
Yeah,
But the 2002 team, I mean, it was just, I mean, it was just, I mean, Ashley Cole, I mean, what a left back he was. I mean, imagine how much he'd be going for now.
Yeah.
He was,
we wouldn't be able to afford him.
He was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. And again, we weren't, you know, he left us because he could see things weren't happening at the club, you know, and he went to Chelsea because he could see, obviously the money as well. And we weren't, and even in them days, we didn't have the owners to pay the wages. Chelsea offered him.
He was proof right, wasn't he, DJ? He was proof right. Can't knock it. He's proof right.
You can't knock him. I mean, Arsenal fans are still bitter about it, but you can't knock him because even back in them days, we had owners that weren't prepared to sit the guy down and go, right, we've got an asset here. We've got the best left back in Europe. You know, let's go and put the money. How much do you want a week? Back then, I don't know, 140, 120 grand, 80, 50, 80 grand, whatever. Yeah, okay, we'll pay that. We'll keep you. We're going to make you. We're going to build. But we was letting players go too cheaply. We weren't offering them good contracts. We weren't paying them the wages, and they were walking out the door.
DJ, that's a great comment you've just made. I was watching a channel this afternoon, right? Yeah, Highbury squad, and there was a guy on there, right, American guy, and he was saying, "We do good business selling our players. We do good business."
How many times have we cringed over the years when Van Persie went for peanuts and Alexis? Look at Alexis.
What are these people? What are these people? Anyway, let's not get into that. Let's not get into that.
Yeah, but one thing, you're right. I think one thing about it is that Ashley Cole. You know, you said he was like one of the best left backs in Europe. I think at the time they were saying he's the best in the world. Because remember, he was in a meeting.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because remember he was actually in a meeting with Penny Zahevi and with a few of the Chelsea people. Because Penny Zahevi, who basically he was like a super agent, isn't it? You know, he was like the Mendes of his day. Penny's the Israeli super agent, and I just knew as soon as they had that meeting, Ashley Cole was lost to us, and as soon as they reported Chelsea and Ashley Cole, I thought, just sell him. Yeah, I wanted him gone then because I knew that we lost him. I knew that he would never want to play for us again.
Yeah, but that's why that side of the pitch was so strong, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable.
Perez, Henry, and Ashley Cole, isn't it?
Yeah, Perez, Henry, and Ashley Cole. I mean, you know, it just makes you happy now, doesn't it? Can you imagine it? It was just a privilege to watch them players play.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's a lot better than Xhaka, Zinchenko, and bloody Martinelli.
Well, what we got now? Compare it now. What we got now on the left?
Well, some of the Arteta lovers were going to say like it was going to be Marino, Zinchenko, and what's his name? Marino, Zinchenko, and Martinelli.
Yeah, that's a championship lineup compared to what we used to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Here's a question for you, gentlemen.
Go on, mate.
As an American fan who's never been to England, not had the opportunity, what are the major differences between Highbury and the Emirates? Far away, gents. Far away.
I think first of all, Highbury, you had the history of the stadium, and it was a unique stadium because the way it was built with the four sides. It was a very narrow pitch. It weren't one of the biggest pitches in the league. It was very, very narrow. So, and the atmosphere was very, how can I say, compared to the Emirates, it was all on one wavelength, the atmosphere. You know, when the whole ground was singing, none of it got lost. They was all on the same hymn sheet. So you had that unique atmosphere at Highbury, and just the history of the place with the Emirates. It kind of, the sound gets lost. You know, it's vast, it's big. You're quite a long way from, you know, when you're up at where I sit, you're quite a way off the pitch. It's not the same. It's not the same. I think the biggest thing, Emirates is a lovely stadium, don't get me wrong, but I think the biggest thing with Highbury, it was close. You know, the pitch was narrow. And it was just the whole history. It was just the tradition of that place.
Ambience, wasn't it? I mean, it was just like, as soon as you walked in there, right, wherever you were in the ground, it was a buzz.
Yeah,
you got it. You felt it. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sorry, The Emirates doesn't sell it to me.
No. One of the things as well, though, Jez, when you walked into Highbury, you felt part of the football. As a fan, you felt part of it. With Emirates, you're just like a number now. And it is probably the same with every modern stadium. But with the Emirates, you never really felt part of the makeup. With Highbury, you was all one big family, you know. Fans around you. You know, you had regular fans going. You had the same faces you'd bump into every home game.
That's right. You know, that's right. Yeah.
You know, and you felt part of the occasion, the day, and it was all tradition. You know, it was just everything about it was just brilliant.
You know what it is. You know what it is with Highbury and Emirates. I think what killed Highbury, and I think it's with the all the grounds. Hillsborough killed Highbury. Hillsborough killed Goodison Park. Hillsborough killed Anfield because we had to go all-seater because what we did at Highbury before when it was standing room only, we knew our capacity was 60,000, and then what was happening is that because we wanted people to be safe, we started putting seats in, and I think making all stadiums all-seater killed the atmosphere. It killed the fans' ability to pick and choose his games. And I think when I look at Highbury, I look at tradition, success. I look at the Emirates, I just look at money maker. But it
Kenny what came from, yeah. I mean that's the biggest difference, isn't it? That's the biggest difference. Highbury, success, trophies, Emirates, money, PR.
Unfortunately, if it wasn't because of Hillsborough, a lot of clubs lost money because they've had to reduce their capacities by putting seats in. So it's a no-brainer when you've got Man United who didn't suffer the effects of Hillsborough. They maybe probably suffered in terms of atmosphere, but because of where they're built, they're able to put like 75,000 seats. At Highbury, we went from a 60,000 capacity, and then after Hillsborough, it went down to 48,000.
Yeah, about 45,000, wasn't it?
It was 38,000. So, in terms of like money, clubs are always losing money because of all seaters. So, you'll find that a lot they're either putting the prices up or they've had to move. So, and another thing as well, what killed us as well is that we all thought because we're getting like world class pacey players, we thought the pitch was too small, so we wanted bigger pitches. So that's another reason why we lost Highbury. Is because of the ad demands for fast football.
And look what's happened since we moved. Say no more.
No leaks.
Fuck all, basically. Question here, guys. What you lot know about the Ashburton Army? Nothing. To be honest, I don't know nothing about them. And you guys?
Not a lot about them, really. Just I would imagine that they probably got on the social media and started from there. You know, and got that, but even that's got smaller now. You know, when that first started going, the Ashburton Army, it was rocking, but I think that's got smaller now, Kenny, isn't it? The Ashburton Army, you don't get as many. I think
what it is that the Ashburton, they're basically young lads, social media kind of lads. And I think the club, the club didn't like them, because at the end of the day, they had to find them somewhere to sing. And they were bringing up the atmosphere. But when you look at the Ashburton Army, and I say it respectfully, a lot of them are junior gunners.
Yeah.
And when you're a junior gunner, you can go to every game home and away as long as you brought your parents. But when you stop becoming a junior gunner and you're 18, and they have to go in a waiting list like everyone else in terms of red tickets. So it's hard for them to get tickets. And as you know, all three of us know, there's always people moaning about not being able to get and watch us when they want because they have to go on a ballot. So I think that's what's hurt the Ashburton Army, the fact that it's hard for them to make the transition from being junior gunners to getting tickets, which is scarce. But you know where they can make themselves more useful is if they can get themselves on away games, because that's when we could do that atmosphere. Although our away fans are the best in the world. They never stop singing and they always be on the side. The atmosphere away games is brilliant. But you had the Ashburton Army alongside that brilliant atmosphere. We're actually, it will give our players an extra 30%.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I mean, they've had their use, the Ashburton Army. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They have had, they have got the atmosphere going a little bit.
I think the problem here, though, is that coming back to this comment, seeing them smash a few Spurs fans, that is not the attitude.
No.
And I'm sorry, I don't believe that comment, because whenever I've talked to people about them, then they're not in that game. They're not in that game.
No, they're there to play. They make up songs, and they're tribe, aren't they? They're not. Listen, the Ashburton Army are not exactly the ICF that we had to contend with, and movements like that from years ago. I mean, you think they're intimidating? God, during the late 70s,
I've been told a story, right, about this Ashburton Army. They went to West Ham at the West Ham's London Stadium. They gave it all the big one, and they ran.
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, that's not really.
Yeah,
you don't want that back in the game anyway.
No.
No,
you don't want that back. I mean, thankfully now going to football matches is far safer than when we used to go. I mean, I remember going to Ellen Road, and it weren't a nice place to go to.
A lot of the away games, there were people like fight, and some of the grounds you wouldn't associate with some of the towns, but the northern sides they always came with a firm. It was like wanted to have. It's like they saw the London clubs, especially Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham as well, and obviously Spurs. I thought, hang on here, we're going to beat some southern softies up, And Middlesbrough had a firm. Newcastle were handy, and believe it or not, Liverpool and Everton had a good turn. And Man United, they were like they had a firm as well.
The county ride, I can swear it down. I can tell you a little story there. Walking down to Everton, the county road, right, and that was the name of their firm, right, and they were everywhere. Wherever you turned, they were there, and it was like going to Hull away. Jesus Christ, that was a bad day.
Burnley,
right. Not the Forest. Not the Forest was tasty as well.
They did, and he had the naughty 40. Yeah. But anyway, that's to get away from it. That was back in the day. We don't need that anymore.
No,
it's been a good chat, guys.
It's been good. But as I said, I think out of the two teams, both magnificent teams. Overmars was a brilliant player. Lundberg, Wiltord, I think could have been. As I said, he was just wrong place at the wrong time, really, because he had so many good strikers around him. But I think out of the two teams, that 02 team was something special. But what the 98 team was good, but that was a really good team then, and it brought me a lot of pleasure.
You'd say the 02 team's better than 98, DJ?
I would just about edge towards that team. If I'm going to be honest with you, I would probably edge towards that team, as in all departments. I think the Campbell signing was perfect for us. We had a brilliant left back, and we had a lot of intelligence all round the pitch. I mean, really, really intelligent players all round the pitch, that team. But as I said, the 98 team was scared of nothing. As a team, as a unit, the 98 team was probably better. But all round, I would just head towards the 02 team. I don't know about you, Kenny.
Go on, Kenny.
Well, the thing is, God bless his soul, the late Gary Speed used to always talk about the Arsenal 02 team. I'm sure he mentioned 04 10, but they're pretty similar. He said that when he played against Arsenal, they're all 6'3", can run 11 seconds.
Yeah.
and you talk about another great side as well. A great point was Sam Allardyce. He said the Arsenal, whenever his Bolton side played the Arsenal, especially the team in 01-02, especially when Bolton first got promoted from like division to championship, he said that the players literally went up to you and said, "How do you want it? If you want to play football, yeah, we'll play football with you. If you want to fight, yeah, we can do that. We can do it as well."
Yeah.
They knew it handled themselves, and it was a case like that 97-98 team learned how to handle themselves.
Yeah.
The 01-02 team knew how to handle themselves.
Yeah,
you know
it was
what I mean?
already there.
They were a seasoned team, and people were frightened of them. People were frightened of them at all levels. They weren't just frightened of them because of the way they played. They were frightened of them physically as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the thing with the 2000, I mean, with that 02 team, they had everything, as you said, Kenny. They could mix it, but they could turn on the skill and the 1-2s and the pace and the movement, the finishing. I mean, they scored. They bagged more goals than the 98 team because they had a lot more flair, and they had Robert Pires and Freddie Lundberg and players like that. But it is hard to separate them. Like when we done the show the other week with the Invincibles and that, they've just been great teams, and I just wish that some of these young fans that watch this would just go back and really study these great teams that we had and start comparing it of what we've got now. It is a million miles away, guys.
Yeah.
Miles away.
Universe.
You know the thing about it?
The universe is about it, mate.
You couldn't even put a price tag on some of our old players of today. Tony Adams would be worth millions.
Oh,
millions.
It's the same for a lot of fans, though. You think about it. Man City fans, the ones, because remember, Man City fans always talk about they're the Manchester team and all their fans from Manchester. Well, not really. You're getting a lot of fans from all over the country now.
Yeah.
Just like Man United, you're getting a lot of fans from the Far East of Europe because of your success. Now, those fans wouldn't know that Man City went 35 years without winning anything, but before they went into their trophy track, they're great teams as well, but they wouldn't know about it. No. And that's the thing. The reason why it's part of me wishes they didn't know, our fans didn't know about these great players. You know why? Because if they didn't know about these great players, it's because the present team were carrying on that success. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like you look at the Man United fans, you think about Man United's domination or competitiveness between 93, 91 to about 2013. There's a generation of Man United fans who could actually compare the sides that were still winning titles with the side that won the first title in the first Premiership.
I agree, Kenny.
Yeah,
we've got nothing. We've got nothing in this future to compare those teams with. But what I will say, I mean, it's brilliant that Jez does these shows, and smash the likes, guys, because these shows are important. They're really important. There's only 3 teams in the history of English football that can do shows like this, comparing brilliant teams. That's Arsenal, Man United, and Liverpool.
100%. The 3 biggest clubs in the country.
The Man City team of today can't compare any teams throughout the ages because they were just an average yo-yo team until money bought them. And Chelsea since the turn of the millennium, Chelsea was just again. You know, Chelsea was only born when Roman Abramovich born, so they can't do shows like this. They can't really compare some of the Chelsea team. I mean, I remember watching Chelsea as a mid-table team with an odd cup run.
I can go back further. I remember when I first. Do you remember when you first watched the Big Match when they had a goalkeeper called like Peter Barotta?
Yeah.
Replaced Peter Barotta. They had players like Peter Rhodes Brand. They had players like Peter Rhodes Brand, Mike Frillery, Bobby Langley, all those sort of players. Who are they?
Yeah.
Clive Walker, obviously Chelsea legends, but for us, there was times when Chelsea playing in the Championship, isn't it?
They had the great Ray Wilkins, though. I'll give them that.
Yeah, and they had Peter Bonetti, who's a great player as well. But they had players. Dave Speedy as well.
Oh dear.
But this is what I'm just saying, Jez. So I mean, these shows really are good because you know whatever they get out of people, it's good to be involved in things like this because it's educational about your club.
100%, definitely.
And one thing with the Arsenal, and it's the same as Man United, and it's the same as Liverpool. Me growing up, I mean, you know, I've been watching Arsenal for years and years and years, and me growing up, it was always Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United.
Yeah,
you know, teams like Man City. I used to look at playing teams like Man City. No disrespects, playing teams like Ipswich and Southampton. You know, no disrespects to Ipswich and Southampton, but that's the sort of fixture it used to be for me.
It was a different era, but I mean, if you want my option, 98-02 teams. For me, I've heard your great comments. For me, it's the 98. I'll tell you for why. Because we were the only team to go double winners for the first time.
Yeah, good on you, Jez. That's a fair enough point. That is a brilliant point. That
you can't knock it. It was getting to the odds. You can't really knock it because you think about it, the songs that you know another thing, right? And I hate to be mischievous, but it's our show. Do you remember the 97-98 team gave birth to a very lovely song involving Teddy Sheringham?
Yes.
Do you remember it?
Yeah.
That summer in 98 for that season, obviously won a treble a year afterwards. But for 1 year, we owned Terry Sheringham. We owned him.
He hates us, doesn't he? Even today, he can't stand
but it wasn't just... Yeah, but I remember one time, Chelsea were playing Real Madrid in the European Super Cup, and Chelsea fans were singing it.
Yeah. But I mean... As George Graham says, we've never been liked, and we haven't over the years for some reason or another. We've never been a likable team, and teams are not liked when they're successful, are they? It's like the pep team.
You know, we hate it.
Go on, Kenny.
They hate the fact we call ourselves the Arsenal. They can't. They hate it. They hate it.
I always think it's one word: history.
Yeah, but
no club's got a history like Arsenal. No club has got a history like Arsenal. There's not one club.
We were once from one season called the Arsenal.
Yeah.
Called Royal Arsenal. We changed our name to the Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then my granddad told me this, and he said we were hate Arsenal back then, right? We hated because went Royal Arsenal to the Arsenal. And then when we moved to Highbury, right, in 1914, we became Arsenal. And it was the Arsenal. And that was a statement that so many fans... I mean, Arsenal weren't a big team then, let's put it right.
No.
not so.
And the bigger teams up north at the time, as football was dominated in the north.
Yeah, it was.
Liverpool, Preston North End, Sheffield.
Yeah.
They hated that. The Arsenal. And it stuck because even in the 50s, 60s, right, people would say, who we got this weekend? Oh, we got the Arsenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
It stuck. It stuck.
But going back then, Jez, another reason why we're disliked is because A, our history, no club's got a history like it, and B, is during that time when the North was dominating football, Arsenal was the first team that overpowered them and stopped the lot.
Yep.
And that's why they don't like it. Because we came, Chelsea didn't do it, Spurs didn't do it, West Ham didn't do it. It was
Arsenal, the first team in London to go professional.
Yeah. And it was Arsenal. It was Arsenal that stopped the dominance of the likes of Preston and Sheffield and Leeds and all these great teams up north. You know, and that's another reason why we're not disliked. And again,
look
they'll go back
to
history.
Look what we did in the 80s. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Man United finished Liverpool off, but we started the building blocks in 89 and 91. And that opened the door for Man United's domination.
Yeah,
we actually helped Man United dominate English football.
100%, Kenny. And this is what I can't understand. We took over a brilliant Man United Alex Ferguson team, you know, and Arsenal outgunned them basically. Excuse the pun. You know, we took over. And this is what I can't understand. Why people turn around. What really winds me up is when people turn around and said, "Yeah, but if it hadn't have been City was a powerhouse, that's why we didn't win. If it weren't for City, we'd have won the league. No, we should have won the league. When we was 8 points clear, because why did Wenger do it? Wenger done it to Ferguson, so why didn't we do it to Pep? I can't. I'll never use that as an excuse.
Well, what you think about is that in '98, our mentality was great. We had leaders. We had Tony Adams, who won the league in '91 and '89. Yeah. We had Keown, who came back to win the league, who needed to win trophy because he left us in a half over a contractual issue with George Graham. Yeah. We had Bold, who won it in 89 and 91. You had Dixon, who won it in 89 and 91. You Winterburn. So they weren't going to let us lose that time. Weren't happening.
No. Never. All winners, mate. All winners. But yeah, so we had two for the 02 and one for the 98. But they were two brilliant teams. But yeah, I think the 02 only just about edges it.
Well, I get that. But for me,
yeah,
it's only it was our second double. First team in football history to do it.
And I think the other reason why the 98 is because we did have that little barren spell between 98 and 2002 where we didn't win anything. So there was a lot more pressure on this team.
Yeah, I get that.
I think Man United was really strong between 99 and 2000. They were levels behind him. Like you think about the gaps in points. We finished second in 2001, 2002, and the gaps were always about 10 points. They actually won it. There was one season in 2001. They virtually were playing reserve players because they already racked up in the beginning of May.
But this is why people say to me, "Why ain't Tottenham your biggest rival?" Because Tottenham weren't a threat. Tottenham were no threat to me. Tottenham was just, we've got Spurs. It don't matter. Again, another mid-table team that didn't do a lot. Yeah. Had the odd great player when they had Klinsmann and Gazza and all of that, but didn't really worry.
Who was saying? But I go back to
Man United was my rivals, and they still are.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I go back to sort of like when you're a kid. I remember I got used to Spurs not winning nothing, and then as a kid, you're watching them win the FA Cup in 81 and 82.
Yeah.
And they beat us on the way to the 82 one. And you see them seeing them winning the UEFA Cup. That's when Spurs became rivals because obviously you've got to remember I was born in Highbury. I was born in my first house in Highbury, I was born in Liverpool Road, the Royal Free Hospital, Liverpool Road, because
that's where my mum was born.
Yeah, so anyone who lived in Highbury had to be born in the Liverpool Road, and if you lived in Holloway or Finsbury Park, you were Holloway Road, you went to the Royal Free in Holloway, and if you lived in Finsbury Park,
Lewis Trust Building,
Whittington. So basically, my situation is, I went to primary school and infant school, where my second home was in Crouch-Hill. Obviously, that's Arsenal area. We had Spurs near us. So the hate comes from
that was a big Spurs. That was a big Spurs area.
Where I consider myself, where I felt like I'm a fully fledged Arsenal fan. I was used to us beating Spurs, and then when they beat us when Archibald got a couple of goals in '81, that's when my hatred came. Yeah, that's why I hate them, and I realised, well, hang on here. There's a reason why I hate them, because they beat us for the first time. But I know now it's a legitimate hatred because they're our rivals. Because there was always kids at primary school who supported Tottenham.
Yeah,
and Islington, and that used to annoy me as well. So that's why Spurs will always be my traditional rivals.
I mean, they're rival in the fact that they're our neighbours, but they're not on a football sense. I always like to get one.
It was personal. It was personal.
Tribal. To me, it's always been. I mean, I when as a little kid, I didn't get it right until really when I was about 8, 9. I mean, my granddad was probably the most anti-Tottenham person ever. But to me, it was always tribal rivalries, right? As I grew up as a little kid in the 70s, it was Liverpool.
Yeah.
It was Liverpool.
Yeah, fantastic team, weren't they, during the 70s, Liverpool? I mean, what a team. It's funny, isn't it? You had Liverpool in the like 70s, you had Man United like 80s, and then Arsenal, and and then you've had cities, then you've had Man City, like Chelsea and Man City. So it's weird how it all goes.
Well, yeah, but they did the right thing. Chelsea and Man City did the right thing. They did what every.
They moved with the times, Kenny, didn't they?
Yeah, you can't win what Man City and Chelsea won without spending money.
Exactly, and they went with the times, and this is why our board and our owners have always been 2 steps behind, and they still are. You need lots of nowadays. Money wins you. Nowadays, unfortunately, it's not just about raw talent on the pitch; it's how much you spend. And this is where football's going.
That's what's been away from football traditionally. You think about it, in the 30s. Yeah. We were the ones who were spending all the money. Hence the fact we dominated. We had more money than everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. But football has gone mad, mate. Because when you're giving players 500 grand a week, and 9-year contracts, and then I think there's Garnacho going for 80 million. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just gone.
Well, the Saudis, they put the wages up even more.
Yeah.
Where big teams in Europe have to pay what the Saudis are paying. In order to remain competitive.
This is a good one for you. I mean, I've done all this history stuff up to the 30s on previous streams over a couple of years now, right? And there's another argument about the Arsenal-Tottenham situation. It's the fact that one of our owners, who owns the newspaper, The Athletic, at the time, and Arsenal were basically relegated, and we were out. But so the following season with Tottenham, and it was then a vote of who's coming back into the Division 1 at the time. And it was only pure, it was, and let's be honest, it was pure corruption, right, of what Norris did in the fact that he owns the Athletic. He put out a poll, right, to get basically Arsenal back into Division 1. So you can understand the right.
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, Jez, isn't there?
Because basically Arsenal shouldn't have got back in Division 1.
No.
And Tottenham were booted out.
Yeah.
So I get that. Anyway, guys,
geographical. We took to be honest, we took the Mickey. We took the piss geographically because I think.
Yeah, we did.
But you think about it, Spurs it was basically Spurs and Leighton Orient, or Clapton or Leighton Clapton, who basically had Islington, Hackney, and obviously Arundel. Then we came along.
That is very, very true. I mean, that's a debate, maybe a show for another day about that. But DJ,
been brilliant, guys. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. I love him. It's brilliant. Kenny, lovely to see you again, my friend.
Lovely to see you. Man City next week.
Man City next week, and it's a Man City team we should win. We won't have a better chance of beating this Man City team.
Let's say the same thing about us.
Well, that is true. Next week, gentlemen, you tell me when you're available.
Managers and strikers, isn't it?
And we'll do. Talk about Bertie, Terry Neal, George, and
Arson.
And we have you tell me what day is good for you.
Okay, mate. I'll let you know, Jez. I'll message you and let you know. Yeah, I'll message you and let you know.
Right, definitely. All right.
DJ, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jez.
Gentlemen,
cheers, Kenny, and thanks for all the listeners. And do appreciate all your support. Smash the likes for Jez's channel. It's been amazing. Thank you very much, guys.
Love you loads. I'm gonna go now because I've been crossing my legs.
Yeah. See you later, guys. Take care.
See ya.